Hello there YouTubers, welcome to another episode of Wet Liberal Whenever. Well, as you can see, I'm currently leaning on a fence. Well, okay, strictly speaking it's not a fence, it's a gate. But I think the analogy still stands. I'm leaning on this fence because the debate I'm going to talk about today, I'm not actually sitting on the fence like I was on the nuclear debate I did on the last Wet Liberal Weekly. This time I'm standing on one side of the debate, but I'm actually leaning on the fence. Now I'm talking about the climate change debate. And believe me, I can feel climate changing today because I was up here the other day and it was swelteringly hot, and now it's really quite cold. It's not pleasant, but I'm going to persevere. A lot of people think I'm interested in electric cars because of my pro-climate change greeny credentials, but that's really not the case. The reason I'm interested in them is because of their innovations in engineering, the fact that they're far more efficient, the fact that there's a whole breakthrough and a change in the way that we use energy and the way we transport ourselves. In fact, the list is very long, and at the very bottom of it, in very small type, that I might mention climate change, but that's why I'm leaning on this fence. I'm really not sure. Now, obviously, I believe that we really have to do something, and something very soon, about the way we produce and use energy. But the climate debate is a whole other area. Now, this year I've been asked to judge for the Royal Society Winton Science Book of the Year Award, and I'm really proud, and it's dead posh, believe me. But the other day I received 6 huge boxes of books. There's 121 books up for the prize, and I'm part of the judging panel that has to narrow it down to the finalists. So I've got a lot of science books to read, and the very first box I opened, and this was quite spooky how this happened, the very first box I opened, there were 3 books right on the top of that box. I could have opened any of the boxes. The very first one I opened, 3 books right on the top, all about climate change. Now, there is one really interesting aspect of this whole debate that I really wasn't fully aware of, and that is that no one disputes the fact that there is change taking place. No one is disputing the fact that global temperatures are increasing, and are increasing at quite a rate. And no one is disputing that there is more CO2 in the atmosphere right now than there has been, say, 100 years ago. Hugely more. Now, no one disagrees with that. What they disagree with about, of course, as many of you will know, is who caused this. Was this caused by man-made activity? Is this anthropomorphic climate change, or just a natural cycle that the Earth goes through due to the sun and general weather patterns and things that change because they just do? On one side of the fence, okay, it's a gate, but just go with me on this. On one side of the fence are the drill and burn companies, the members of the extreme right, the teabaggers in America, for instance, and a few right-wing bloggers who have gone absolutely rabid and screaming and shouting and stamping their little feet, angrier that yet again we're being duped by governments and being forced to pay more tax, and we're forcing wealthy right-wing people to give away all their money to the state who'll just waste it building wind turbines. They are fuming about it. The Daily Mail had a huge ranting piece of nonsense about wind turbines the other day. But on this side of the debate, you've got governments, you've got all the scientists. 90 to 95% of climate scientists are completely convinced that climate change is an anthropomorphic phenomena. It's caused by man-made activity, by human activity. So on this side of the debate, you've got all the scientists, you've got all the governments, but interestingly, you've got the banks. Huh? Why the banks? Well, the governments of the world have all had a chat about this because they've seen the raw data. They can see that temperatures are rising, they can see that the ice caps are melting, they can see that things are going to change rather dramatically, and they're trying to do something about it in their own fumbling, stupid, short-termist, idiotic, moronic, selfish, greedy and childish way. They're trying to do something about it. So they've all grouped together and they thought, how on earth can we encourage people to stop burning so much stuff and releasing so much carbon? I know what. Let's turn carbon into a monetary unit. Let's make it possible to buy and sell carbon. They created carbon credits. They changed carbon into money. And guess who really loved that? Banks. Banks love it because that means they can start trading in carbon and they can make money out of it. So if you produce something over here that creates lots and lots of carbon into the atmosphere, you're producing energy or a big manufacturing industry, you can buy carbon credits from this person over here who's got a farm, and you can buy trees, and then you can feel good and you can put in your advertising and your publicity that you've got a very low carbon footprint due to your carbon trading. It's a con, it's a rip-off, and it's not the solution. So that's why I'm leaning on the fence, because on this side there's some brilliant scientists who've come up with brilliant ideas. There's also brilliant people developing renewable energy and non-drill and burn technology and more efficient cars and all those things. So I'm definitely on this side of the fence. But carbon credits, what a load of bollocks. And of course, a carbon credits trading scheme requires a bureaucracy to administrate it. And what does a bureaucracy do? It costs money. And where does that money come from? It comes from taxpayers. And what happens when you try and raise tax to change the way we behave? You drive people on the extreme right completely barking mad. And the raving lunatics who fund and support the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph, and the lunatic, barking mad, childish, pathetically immature people who scream and rant about stupid government policy can have a bloody field day, and they have. What is truly remarkable is that there's this huge slew of information that's come from NASA and from government bodies and scientific research centres all over the world, and people who are taking temperatures for the last 100 years down to the last tiny little fluctuation in temperature, and they put all this data together, and it shows without any shadow of a doubt that since the Industrial Revolution and since the massive output of carbon that we do now, then the temperatures have risen and the carbon has gone up. But it took 3 or 4 barking mad right-wing bloggers, very heavily funded by the drill and burn industries, to completely turn that around and make everyone go, oh, it probably isn't true then. It probably isn't the case that there's global warming. It's all a load of nonsense. I'll keep driving the Jag. Well, here's a really important part of this whole debate, and I think it's really worth remembering from everyone's point of view. We're basically tired of it. Those of us in the middle who aren't quite sure what's going on, I don't know which side of the debate I'm on. Is it climate change or isn't it happening? I can't tell. It's very, very difficult to work it out because we've had our fingers burned. We've heard the governments of this globe cry wolf many times. Think about Y2K. Those of you old enough to remember the year 2000, 11 years ago, huge amount of hassle about Y2K. All the computers were going to crash. Planes would be dropping out the sky. Life support systems would just go and that would be it. All computers were going to die. It was utter, total bollocks and nonsense. The terrifying fear-mongering that the media have blown up about bird flu, swine flu, endless, global pandemics that are going to wipe out 7/8 of the world's population in 10 minutes. Nothing like that has happened. Nothing. It's absolute nonsense. So when the same group of people, i.e. governments, tell us global warming is going to happen and the ice caps will melt and the whole of London will be flooded and it's going to be a disaster, we go, oh, will you shut up with all your bloody nonsense? You're just trying to get more tax out of us. You can see why I'm leaning on the bloody fence, because we've been told so many times of shit things that are going to happen to us if we don't totally change the way we live, and if we don't walk around with masks when we go down the shopping mall because we'll get bird flu. What a load of nonsense. So here's most of us in the middle in this debate. We're not quite sure who to believe. Do we believe some Daily Telegraph right-wing blogger who's convinced that it's all a big government rip-off? Or do we believe, 99% of the world's scientists are going, actually, we've got to do something because it really is a bit of a problem? I'm not sure. I'm standing in the middle going, I don't know. And the only way that I can fumble my way through to some sort of solution on this, to some sort of conclusion of getting any understanding of it, is to think about who I'm most scared of. Am I most scared of governments, elected democracies with elected officials that can be booted out of office if they screw up, and bureaucracies that seem to be in control whatever happens and no matter who's in power? And I know that politicians are bent and on getting backhanders and are fiddling their expenses and a bunch of schmucks. Or are you more scared of the people on this side? Who are they? I don't know. I've got no idea. The corporate bosses, the big multinational drill and burn companies with huge amounts of money. They're not democratically elected. They're not answerable to anyone. Their prime motive is to make profit. They will do anything to maintain their position of profit making. They will pay people any amount of money to lie for them. They will lie, they will cheat, they don't pay tax, they don't have anything to do with any country, they're more powerful than most countries, we have no control over them as individuals, there's nothing we can do about them. If we really hate them, all we can do is boycott their products, which is about as useful as pissing into the wind, and believe me, I'm not going to piss into the wind today. So, which side are you more scared of? I'll tell you where I am. This is why I'm leaning on the fence on this side. On that side are the big drill and burn corporations. I'm more scared of them than I am of some two-faced, lying, toe-rag politician over this side. And I'm also more scared of the scientists they pay to lie for them than I am of the scientists on this side, who I'm sure some of them are lying. And some of them have fiddled their emails at the University of East Anglia. But actually, that's been peer-reviewed and it's been proved beyond doubt that that wasn't what they were doing. And those emails are over 10 years old. Something that hasn't been hammered home in the Daily Mail and the Daily Poxy stink. I fucking hate that paper. I'll have to cut that bit. So, that's basically why I'm leaning on the fence in the climate debate. Now, it certainly doesn't feel like the globe is warming here today. I can't believe how cold it is. The wind is so cold, but that's enough waffle from me. If you have been, thank you for watching.